¿Qué spa?
Skin.
Hold.
Focus on facial reconstruction.
Spa.
Hi everyone, welcome to East Asia Dove. I'm your host Lishin, currently somewhere between young at heart and why did my back start making that noise?
Spa facials.
A facial.
Aged.
Today I want to talk about something none of us can escape, but most of us treat like a bad photo, just pretended we didn't see it. Aging. From the first tiny wrinkle on your face, to the first red flag on your medical checkup, to that moment when your group chat quietly shifts from which bar are we going to does anyone know a good orthopedist? That's aging, gently tapping you on the shoulder with a hammer. In this episode, I don't just want to talk about anti-aging tips or which serum is worth selling a kidney for. I'd like to put aging right in the middle of the table, stare at it together, and then see if we can be a little less terrified. Along the way, we will mix it with some mythology, some science, and a few films and novels about growing old. If this topic hits home for you, feel free to save this episode. It will age better than we do.
A spa.
Yes.
Let's begin with the most brutal, but also the most relatable part, our skin. Structurally, skin has two main layers. Epidermis, the outer layer, very thin, roughly like a sheet of paper. Sadly, not a A4 that can cover everything, more like a receipt. It reveals, it does not hide. Dermis, much thicker, can be several millimeters. This is what really decides whether your skin looks glowy or I've seen some things. The dermis is held up by two main building materials, collagen, like the concrete and steel beams of a building. It gives support. Elastin, like tiny springs hidden inside. It gives elasticity and bounce. When you are enough of both arranged neatly, your skin tends to look plump and supported. You pinch it, it springs back. Deep lines are less likely to set up permanent residency. The problem is from around age 20, we start losing collagen at roughly 1% per year. Before 20, I woke up like this. After 20, I woke up like this, and I can see exactly where. 1% doesn't sound like much, like a service fee, but this one charges you every year, compounding with no unsubscribed button. Once the lose passes a certain threshold, you get that elevator moment. Who is this tired person in the reflection and why is she wearing my face? Dermatologists often mention 3 accelerated aging checkpoints. Of course, everyone's different. Some of us are early access. Around 30 to 35, your weight suddenly discovers gravity. Metabolism slows down. The era of I can eat anything and stay slim quietly ends, replaced by I inhaled a croissant and gained 2 pounds. Around 50, heart and vascular issues start to show up more often. High blood pressure, heart attacks, strokes. Hospital apps move to the front row on your phone. Around 75 to 80, people often start to lose weight and look thinner. But that's usually muscle and organ mass, not some kind of late-life fitness glow up. Cognitive functions also tend to drop more noticeably. So, for skin, what can you realistically do? It boils down to 2 things. Stop abusing the collagen and elastin you already have In practice, less sunscreen is cheaper than laser treatments. Fewer all-nighters, right? Less smoking, less heavy drinking, more SPF, more actual sleep. Any one of these habits is more powerful than that miracle cream someone on TikTok swore by. Use skincare and procedure appropriately, but don't treat them like a time machine. They can absolutely help you age more gracefully. They will not take you back to 18 unless you also go back to your parents' house and ask for your allowance. And collagen supplements, let's be adults. They are proteins. Once digested, they are broken down into amino acids and sent wherever your body thinks is important. Your body does not have a premium service called express delivery to nasolabial foes guaranteed in 24 hours. Underneath this whole skin topic, there's a much bigger question. If your mind is already like a 80-year-old, but your face still looks like a 20, that's its own special kind of a misery. If your mind still feels 20, but your face looks 70, you can just look in the mirror a little bit less and probably be fine. We will come back later to this idea of whether the mind itself ages and whether that's entirely a bad thing.
Spa.
The human imagination about not dying has never shut up. Across cultures, including East Asia, you see similar stories. In Greek mythology, a mortal man prays to the gods, "Let me live forever and never die." He forgets to add, "Oh, and please keep me young and not hideous." The gods, being very literal, grant his wish. He never dies. He just keeps aging. He dries out like a very sad resin forever. This unfortunate man is named Tithonus. The original "be careful what you wish for" influencer. In ancient Mesopotamia, one of humanity's earliest epic poems, the Epic of Gilgamesh, tells a similar story. Gilgamesh, a king, loses his closest friend and suddenly realizes, wait, I died too? Terrified, he goes on a quest to find immortality. After huge effort, he gets a plant from the bottom of the sea that can supposedly restore youth. Exhausted, he sat it down to take a bath. A snake crawls by and eats the plant. From then on, the snake can shed its skin and appear renewed. But humans remain 100% mortal, no refunds. The message is beautifully blunt. Humans get so close to immortality and then drop it like a phone without a case. In the East Asian story, you see similar patterns. Emperors sending ships to find the islands of immortals. Alchemists promising elixirs of life, occasionally poisoning those emperors with immortality pills full of mercury. That did technically make them stop aging, just not in the desired direction. Apparently, no matter where you look, humans really don't like the idea of the end. Why do vampires in Western stories always go after young blood? Underneath the drama is a simple intuition. Youth equal to energy. The funny part is real science has flirted with this idea too. In some experiments, scientists connected the blood circulation of a young mouse and an old mouse. The old mouse showed some improved markers of aging. Basically, mouse lover, you look great. What's your secret? This research is ethically tricky and nowhere near vampire facial at your local clinic. But it shows one thing clearly. Our fear of aging keeps pushing us back and forth between serious science and near magical thinking. Even the existence of vampires has been playfully attacked with math. So image there was exactly one empire at the same point in history. Each month it buys one human who also becomes a vampire. That's very conservative vampire behavior. Within a couple of years, everyone on Earth would be a vampire. That hasn't happened. Unless the internet counts, then we can reopen the case. So either vampires don't exist or they are incredibly responsible citizens with great population control policies. Either way, it's a nice reminder that a lot of our scariest stories don't survive basic arithmetic. Futurist Ray Kurzweil wrote a famous book, The Singularity is Near. In it, he predicts that around 2045, with brain-computer interfaces, AI, nanotech, and more, humans may reach a technological singularity and possibly achieve some form of digital immortality or extreme life extension. What makes this more than just a sci-fi is his personal lifestyle. He reportedly takes dozens of supplements every day. He tries many experimental longevity treatments. His daily routine basically says, I'm not living before 2045, sorry. His logic, just stay alive long enough to reach 2045 and let future technology handle the rest. If most of us use skincare and gym memberships to delay aging, Kurzweil is like the ultra-premium version of that instinct. Same fear of running out of time, just with a much bigger budget and a lot more pills.
Gilgamesh.
Biologically, one star player in aging is the telomere. At the end of each chromosome, there is a protective cap called a telomere. Every time a cell divides, the telomere gets a little bit shorter. Once it becomes too short, the cell stops dividing and basically retires. To a small condo in South Florida, think of telomeres as the soles of your shoes. Every step wears them down just a little. When they're fully worn through, the shoes are down. Most of our cells follow this limited division rule. There's even a ballpark number called the Hayflick limit. A typical human cell can only divide about 50 to 60 times, but nature loves loopholes. One of them is wandering around the seafood restaurants. Lobsters, a creature that theoretically doesn't age. Studies have found that lobsters produce an enzyme called telomeres, which helps repair telomeres when cells divide. As a result, they don't lose reproductive capacity the way we do. In theory, they can keep reproducing at very old ages. In practice, lobsters die from disease, predators, pollutions, or being served with butter. Very few get the chance to die peacefully of old age in the ocean. But they give scientists an idea. If we could safely control telomeres in humans, could we slow aging significantly? So far, the giant red flag is cancer. Cells can repair themselves identically and keep dividing start to look suspiciously like tumor cells. So telomeres research is still in a very early, very careful phase. We're nowhere near a safe, side effect-free immortality pill, despite what that one sketchy ad might promise you at 2 a.m. Modern insurance, pensions, and social security system are all built on one big assumption. We can roughly estimate the probability of death at each age. Back in the 19th century, a statistician noticed a pattern that became known as the Gumper's law of mortality. In plain language, after about age 30, for every fixed number of years that pass, say 7 to 8 years, your chance of dying in that year roughly doubles. Yes, it's as cheerful as it sounds. What's surprising is, even now, with much longer lifespans, this pattern still roughly holds. So, we live longer overall, but the basic shape of the death risk curve, flattish early on, then rising faster and faster, hasn't changed. That's why actuaries can estimate on average how many years someone your age might have left, calculate how much premium to charge so that the company doesn't go broke. It sounds cold because it is, but it also tells us something. For an individual, death often feels like an accident. For a population, it behaves like a steady, predictable curve. Comforting? Not really. Useful? Unfortunately, very. What's worse, an old body or an old mind? Here's a slightly cruel but very revealing thought experiment. If you had to pick one, would you rather keep a 20-year-old mindset but look like you're 70, or look 20 forever but mentally feel like you're 90? Most people, after really thinking it through, realize someone whose inner life is already dead wood won't enjoy living, no matter how perfect their face is. Someone who genuinely still feels curious and alive inside, even with wrinkles and white hair, can still have a very rich life. And photography apps exist, bless them. I'm reminded of a real woman in her 80s. One day she told her children, the happiest period of my entire life is actually right now. She hadn't sadly de-aged. She still had health issues, but the poverty, anxiety, and heavy responsibilities of her youth were mostly behind her. Her children could take care of themselves. For the first time, she could unapologetically do things just for herself. She often said, "These days, I'm really satisfied and happy." That made something very clear for me. Old age is not automatically a package deal of suffering and abandonment. It's more like the final bill for all the choices you made along the way.
The spa. Right.
There's a film you might know, originally Swedish, A Man Called Ove, later remade in Hollywood as A Man Called Otto. The main character is a textbook grumpy old man. His wife has passed away. He's been pushed into retirement. He patrols his neighborhood every day, angry at everyone and everything. Secretly, he's planning to end his life. He buys the robe, works out the method, he's done the research. But every time he's about to go through with it, something happens. A new neighbor knocks on his door to borrow tools. A kid from next door shows up, needing help. Some tiny, inconvenient, noisy piece of life barges in. Those little knocks, those small "can you help me" moments, pull him back from the edge again and again. I really love the metaphor. Sometimes what saves an old person isn't a miracle cure, but simply the fact that someone still wants to knock on their door. Some people seem to have genetic variants linked to exceptional longevity, but those variants may be tied to an immune system that's slightly less aggressive. In other words, an immune system that reacts like a Marvel superhero to every tiny treat isn't necessarily the secret to live a very long time. People with small, manageable health issues here and there who just keep going steadily for decades might actually do quite well in the lifespan department. To be clear, this is not a recommendation to go collect the disease like a Pokemon. What it suggests is the fantasy of being perfectly healthy, never get sick, and living an extremely long life. Probably belongs more in marketing slogans than in medical textbooks. Real life looks more like this. You have some chronic issues. You adjust your habits. You renegotiate terms with your own body over and over until you find a peace treaty you both can live with. The director Woody Allen once joked, "The secret to living to 100 is simple. Just give up everything you enjoy doing, then you will probably get there. You just won't know why you wanted it." It's funny and also uncomfortably accurate. We're constantly torn between live longer and actually enjoy being alive.
Spa rule.
We've gone from collagen to telomeres, from vampires to insurance mess to wrap up. Let's land on a softer note stories. Here are 4 works, 2 fun, 1 dark, 1 brutally real, that explore what it means to grow old. The movie Las Vegas. 4 retired men, played by Morgan Freeman, Robert De Niro, Michael Douglas, and Kevin Kline, head to Las Vegas to throw a long overdue bachelor party of one of them. Along the way, you get ridiculous situations, casinos, and pool parties, but also a surprisingly tender look at friendship, marriage, and aging. You might finish the film thinking, if my health holds up and I have a bit of a savings, old age might actually be one big, chaotic graduation trip. The second one is Book Club and Book Club, the next chapter. These 2 are basically the female version of Las Vegas. 4 women in their 60s, friends for decades, meet every month for a book club. One is in a long-stale marriage. One is a successful single career woman. One is divorced and living with a cat. 1 month, they choose a rather spicy bestseller to read. Yes, it's that book you are thinking of. That choice unexpectedly pushes each of them into a new chapter of their love lives and inner lives. In the sequel, they all go on a trip to Italy, causing trouble and having a marvelous time from Venice to Rome to Tuscany. If you're wondering, can you still fall in love at 60? Can you still reinvent yourself after retirement? These films offer a very optimistic and very charming yes. The next one is Shiki, novel by Fuyumi Ono. This Japanese horror novel and its anime adaptation has teeth, literally and metaphorically. The story is set in a rural village cut off from the world. One summer, villagers start dying of mysterious causes. Not long after, the dead begin to return. They look almost exactly the same as before. They retain their memories and personalities. The only difference, they can only survive by drinking human blood. Now, image. Your dead parent, partner, or children appears again at your door, warm, loving, just like before. The catch, every night they need your blood or someone's blood to continue living. What would you do? The most terrifying part of Shiki isn't the monsters, it's the humans. How far will people go to protect their own? At what point does a victim become an accomplice? By the end, you may find some of the undead are more human than the living. Some humans are far colder than the so-called monsters. It's an excellent book for a hot summer night. AC on, lights low, and absolutely no walks outside afterward. Amour, filmed by Michael Haneke. This is not an easy watch, but it is a necessary one. An elder couple in their 80s, both former music teachers, have spent a lifetime together. One day, the wife has a stroke, becomes particularly paralyzed, and then gradually declines. The husband refuses to send her to a care facility and insists to taking care of her himself at home. There's almost no melodrama, no sentimental soundtrack swelling at the right moment, no long speeches about the meaning of life, just exhausting details of caregiving and the physical and emotional toll, the slow, unstoppable lose of person you love most. Amour won the Palme d'Or at Cannes for a reason. After watching it, you understand very clearly. If we don't die young and subtly, we will almost certainly face something like this. Either taking care of someone or being the one who needs care. It's a powerful film, but I'd suggest saving it for a day when you are feeling relatively stable. Maybe don't pair it with a midlife crisis. So, from collagen to telomeres, from vampires to pensions, from old guys partying in Vegas to an old couple in Paris, it all circles back to one deceptive, simple question. What are we actually chasing? A few extra years? A face that never betrays our age? A life with zero illness? Or within a limited lifespan to keep at least a little curiosity about life and a little kindness toward other people? If you are willing, I hope you're taking at least 3 things away from this episode. 1. Be a bit kinder to your body. Sunscreen, decent sleep, regular checkups, not because they will make you ageless, but because they increase the odds that when you are old, you can walk into the bathroom by yourself, hear your family clearly, remember how to get home. That's the stuff we don't put on vision boards, but probably should. The second thing is don't focus only on your face. Your skin will become harder and harder to control. That's not a personal failure. That's biology doing its job. But the way you speak, the way you look at others, the way you handle conflicts and connection, those things curve another kind of good-looking lines into you. College character in HD. Third, keep knocking on other people's doors and let them knock on yours. Aging by itself is not real horror. The truly scary version is no one outside, no one inside, and no one ever knocking. So if you can, be the person who knocks. And when someone knocks on your door, resist the urge to pretend you are not home. If the works we mentioned today interest you, you might want to check out. Tell us what moment of growing old do you fear the most? This is East Asia Depth of Field. In the next episode, we will dive into another topic that is just as real, just as inescapable, and hopefully a bit less scary when we face it together.